Today I have to do a video that I never really wanted to make, and it's something that I know eventually happens in life, is obviously life and death. Today, in Trixie's honor, I want to make a video to express how much I loved Trixie and just show you guys all the good memories, kind of just tell you guys her story and how special this one little dog was to me and how much she changed me as a person, and just really reflect on as many good memories as I can and just tell you guys her whole story so you guys can kind of get to know the little dog that I grew up with and the little dog that was really just half of my life, you know, a huge part of my channel. Just really share every little special moment I can and that I have of her with you guys as well, because she is so incredibly loved and her ending was just so unexpected and so tragic, and I feel like she really deserves a dedicated video to tell her story and something that I can always look back at to remember her in the way that I saw her and in the light that I saw her as a dog and a little soul and my best friend. My best friend Trixie did pass away October the 1st around 11:30 p.m. and I will get to the whole story towards the end, but I want to make this video more of a positive light for you guys and explain her story in the most optimistic and hopefully least emotional way, because I've shed a lot of tears over this dog. But without further ado, here's my best friend's story. She will never be forgotten. I got Trixie in 7th grade and I knew right away that I really wanted a Chihuahua after watching Beverly Hills Chihuahua. I always bothered my family. I was like, I want my own dog. And of course we had a family dog, which I loved very much. I just really wanted my own little pet that I could call mine and not like, you know, the family's. I just loved Chihuahuas and I always wanted one. So I remember when I was young, my family told me that if I made the varsity tennis team that I could get a dog, but of course at the time they didn't think I was going to make the team because I was brand new to tennis. It was only my first year in, but little did they know that I would actually make the team. And so we went to this pet shop called Four Paws and a Tail in Minnesota, and I walked in and immediately I saw the cutest little dogs in the world, and they weren't a full Chihuahua, they were actually a Boston Terrier Chihuahua mix. I actually had Trixie and her sister out. Her little sister looked just like her, but she was brown with blue eyes, and apparently that dog had a knee issue that my family couldn't afford to get because we were not very wealthy. Getting a dog was a very big financial thing for my family, but they did promised me the dog, so they did everything that we could to get her. We got her and she was black and white with little freckles, and immediately I was like in love with her, but she was so shy. When I met her, she was literally hiding under the table in this room and she didn't want to come out and play, but I was really shy too, so I feel like that's kind of how we bonded. I was like, you know, I'm shy, she's shy, we could be good friends. And she was so cute, guys. I can't even explain what a cute dog she was, especially as a little puppy with the little floppy ears, and just everything about her was so perfect. Hey guys, this is Twilight Clover 98, and this is my new puppy. She's a Boston Terrier / Chihuahua, and her name's Trixie, because I'll be training with Trixie as soon as she gets more comfortable with me. This is her. We brought her home, and our pug at the time and her were best friends, our pug Clover, and they loved each other so much. They got along so well, and they were just literally best friends. They always cuddled together in their beds. They got along really well. Also, it was funny because ever since Trixie was a puppy, well, she loved the snow because we lived in Minnesota and it would snow quite often, and I would go outside. We would go sledding. I taught her how to sled down the stairs even in the house. Hey guys, Chihuahua Trixie here, and I just taught Trixie a new trick, how to sled down the stairs. But when the snow comes, I'm gonna do this outside. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys her new trick. Stay. Come on down. Good girl, Trixie. So yeah, I hope you guys like the video. I taught her all these tricks too. We were inseparable. Me and Trixie were literally best friends from the start. Like, you could just tell the bond was there with this dog. I named her Trixie, by the way, if you guys were wondering, because from the time I got her, I knew I was going to train her to do tricks, and that she was going to be so special and so smart, and that was something I always dreamed of, was training my own dog to do incredible tricks. And she was the smartest dog I've ever met in my life, and I just want to put it out there. I've never met a dog that has what she has, and I don't know what it is. She has this soul, this personality. She's almost like a little human. Losing her felt like I lost a piece of myself, but I do know she's up in heaven right now, and I tried everything I can to help her, but we'll get to that later. Moving along, we did everything together. We were best friends. We played in the snow. I used to build snowmen, and I always put little carrots in their nose, and that was when her carrot obsession started. She would push down the snowman, and she would take the carrot out of the nose, and she would start eating it in the snow, and that's when I learned she really liked carrots, and carrots were her favorite thing in the world. Do you want a carrot? Yeah? You do? Trixie, what do you want? Do you want a carrot? Do you want a carrot? Do you want a carrot? She's still eating them, I think, right now. Eventually we moved across country, and I remember she was sitting in the back seat and I was sitting next to her, and she just wanted to like always pop out of her little cage, and she just always wanted to be on my lap, and she always wanted to be with me. She was such a sweet, loving dog. She slept in my bed with me every single night since I was a 7th grader. And I have really bad anxiety and depression that I don't like to talk about because I don't like to be negative, but she was such a healer for that. She always knew when I was sad. She always knew when I was having a bad day. She would wave at me, and she'd put her paws on me, and she would cuddle up next to me and make me feel so loved, and she was just honestly the best thing that God has ever given me, and I'm so grateful for the time that I had with her. And it's just really hard saying goodbye to somebody or something that you love in life, but knowing that everything happens for a reason and trusting in God for the next step. But I want to remember her for the good memories, the good times that we had, and this was the closest pet I've ever had in my life that I had to lose, and I love her so much that I just can't explain, and she's such a big part of the channel. She's such a big part of my life, and she will always continue to be a part of me as a person and a part of my channel, a part of the merch and everything I do forward. She will always be with me in my heart, and I know she'll still be with me someday again. She was incredibly funny. I don't remember a dull moment having her in the house, and the house feels so different now. Wow, so pretty. Hey Trixie, look, we got a claw machine in the house. Oh my gosh. Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Edward is trying to train Trixie, and it's not working.
That's not how you say it. Okay, remember what you did over here? Do it to me. Go crazy. She covers
On another note, the way that my dog sleeps is a whole mood. Hi Trixie. Are you sleepy? Good morning to you too. Good morning.
Big.
Trixie, it's finally Christmas. You can have your bone. Do you want it? I'll take that as a yes. Aw, you give her kisses. You give your sister kisses. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Bang. Baldi's in the elevator.
And it went like...
Attention, more attention. Attention now, please.
On a piece. TMZ following me. It's a cute little unicorn. What you doing? What are you doing? Come here. Come here. Come here. Do you go downstairs? Yeah. Let's go. Come on. Always barked when she wanted a carrot. She would spin around in the mornings and sit at the top of the stairway and just bark at me. Who's going in the race? Who's gonna win? Let's go. Come on. Come on. Let's go. And I was like, do you want a carrot? She was like, yeah, I do, Mom. And she was just so happy over the littlest things in life. And she had this little toy called Mr. Squeaks. You want Mr. Squeaks? What? No, I didn't throw him yet. Mr. Squeak. And she loved it. It was her favorite toy. I just don't know how we deserve animals when they're so pure and they're so loving and they're so sweet. Sometimes the world can be hard, and animals, they're just always there for you, and they just care so much and they love you so much. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts that God could bring into your life is a dog or a cat or a pet that loves you so much unconditionally no matter what, and always has that goal to make you smile at the end of the day. And that's all that Trixie did for me. She made me smile every single day. And she was literally the best thing, like I said, that God has ever given me. Obviously you guys as well. My channel has been such a blessing. Something that I didn't even think, you know, I would have. And in the beginning it was me and Trixie with my YouTube, and I had big dreams and big goals for her, and she's accomplished so much. She was made into a Webkinz. She hit 200,000 followers on her TikTok, and she's known worldwide by millions of people. She's on merch that so many of you guys have and have bought for me and wear, and you guys love her so much, and I love her so much too. And she's going to always be with us. Another really hard thing, and I know it's hard to see me like this in a real space in a serious video, and I'm not being silly and goofy and out of character, you know, but I was about to hit 1 million subscribers in like a few weeks now, and it was something I always dreamed of, was to have my dog into a plushie, which we're still in the sample process of and we're still changing, but it came a day too late for her to see it. I feel like if she would have seen it, she would have really loved this so much. Even though this isn't the final product, it's something that is so special to me, seeing something that resembles something that I love so much, something that is so special to our channel. It's not done yet, but it's just, I didn't plan things to be the way they went, and it makes it all so hard to have to hit reality that life is not always cupcakes and sprinkles, and that there is going to be some really hard times, and you just gotta trust in God's plans and, you know, stay strong. I'm going to tell you guys the unfortunate situation of her health. She was so strong through it all. So about, I'd say like around 1.5 months ago, my dog started to have twitches that I really couldn't explain. They were just so strange, and I knew it was hot in our house, so I thought maybe it was like heat sickness, but it wasn't. There would be nights where she would cuddle up next to me because we slept together every night. She would always lay right there on the bed, and we'd always cuddle every single night as I edited and I worked, and she just started shaking, and I'm like, that's not normal. And I remember staying up that night and praying really hard to God, just saying, hey, you know, 2020 is a really hard year, and please don't let Trixie go. I felt something in my gut telling me that it wasn't gonna be good, and unfortunately I ended up being right about that. From that night on, I gave her special attention and love every single day, and did everything in my power that I could to give her time. And we took her into the vet, and they said, oh, it looks like it's just a neck problem, because she had a neck problem about 1 year ago that she had to get pills for, but it didn't seem like a neck problem. So I was kind of explaining to the doctor, you know, I don't think it is. He's like, oh no, it is. She flinched when I touched her neck, but mistakes happen and misdiagnoses do happen as well. And it's really hard to tell when it's your pet. They can't really talk to you and say, hey, this is hurting me, or this is the problem. It's like you have to run all these tests and find out if it's this or if it's that, or you have to see symptoms, and symptoms could be a variety of issues with your pets. We had her on antibiotics and cage rest because we thought it was her back and neck being pulled out because she likes to jump a lot. And during that month of cage rest, when she was shivering nonstop, she had her first seizure, and she was in one of those little metal cages, and basically her nose got stuck in the metal cage, and we noticed it pretty immediately. We pulled her out of the cage, and she was still having a seizure, and that was the first seizure that we had ever witnessed. Immediately I wrapped her in a towel and I brought her to the emergency vet, but that vet was closing because it was literally just on the dot about 7 o'clock, and that's when they closed, and I didn't know that. We actually went to the wrong vet because we were so upset at first. But fortunately, I was lucky enough to see her typical doctor there who knew me because I was in 1 year ago crying about other things that she had, and she took her in right away mid-seizure. She grabbed her and they saved her life because that seizure was over 5 minutes, and if your dog has a seizure over 5 minutes, it's very life-threatening to their brain and their whole body. Their lungs could get filled with fluid, and they could get paralyzed, and they could die and overheat. So it's a very awful thing, and I don't wish that upon anyone's pets. It's very, very tragic. But we saved her there, and they put an IV in her, and we transferred her to another hospital, which was a 24-hour over-the-night vet where she slept the night. And they had updated us about her, and they took x-rays, they took her blood, they took all sorts of different things and tests, and they were like, we can't find anything wrong with your dog. And the first assumption was from her symptoms that she had a brain tumor and that she was very sick, and it was most likely cancer. So That's not what anyone wants to hear, and that's not what I wanted to hear, and I was very torn and crushed. We didn't have an answer if it was or wasn't, and it was most likely that doctor was pretty set on it, like, yo, I think it's this. But I still wanted to go and fight for her and make sure that I couldn't fix whatever it was and heal her from her situation. So we waited a few days and we found a place that would take her in for MRI, which was very hard to get booked and scheduled because most places were booked out months, which was extremely stressful, especially if you had a dog that was very ill. We took her in for her MRI. They had to do a spinal tap where they shave her head and they put an IV in there and they get fluid from the back of her brain. And they found nothing. And I was so shocked actually because I was almost set that it was a brain tumor because of what the other vet told me. And they said, hey, good news, your dog doesn't have a brain tumor and there's nothing wrong with her spine. So looks like you're fine, but it could be epilepsy. And I was like, oh, what's that? They basically told me that, well, if you don't know what that is, that means your dog has something that we don't know what causes it in the brain that will give the dog constant seizures. And they're like, well, you could control it with certain meds, and usually the seizures are like once every few months or once a month if you're lucky, and even once a week in some situations if it's not a bad case of epilepsy. So you're probably going to be fine and they could still live a quality life. So I was like, that's great. You know, that's probably one of the best scenarios. At least that's what I thought at the time. And I was pretty happy about it, pretty relieved. And I thought that things would be fine going forward. We can get her meds and take care of that, and you know, take her in for the checkups that she needed to make sure everything's fine with her. I remember the day of her MRI, she had a seizure in the car, and then that night she had 2 more seizures, which was technically an emergency vet trip, but we thought, you know, it's fine, she has her meds, she'll be fine. Moving along, we went through like the next week or 2 weeks till like an extra month of her life after, you know, the first diagnosis, and she had a bad seizure like once a week at least, and then it got to be the night that I didn't know it was going to be our last day. And we were playing around, we had her toys, and she was acting really normal. So I was really optimistic about everything, and I was like, you know, she's getting better, her meds are helping her, she's not gonna have as many seizures, and she looks good because, you know, at first when she had her first seizure, she was partially blind for a bit because when they have seizures they can't see and they can't, you know, function the way they used to. Their personality changes and she's uncontrollable. She blinks out, she stares at walls, she does things she doesn't usually do, but she was kind of back to normal, so I was feeling really good about things. And I even went to Target that day to plan for a Halloween video that I really wanted to film with her, where I dress her up in cute little costumes. I was planning to film it that night, the night she passed, but I had a weird gut feeling saying, I don't think she feels so well, let's hold off till tomorrow. But tomorrow was too late, and that night she had a total of 6 seizures, which is extremely rare and does not typically happen for dogs with epilepsy. And that's the worst kind of epilepsy that a dog could have, is idiopathic, where you just can't control it. And she was having focal seizures all day nonstop, and the medications were not working, and she was pretty much on the highest dosage of her meds. And she had, like I said, those 6 seizures. We brought her to the emergency vet. I was hoping they could help us there and give us maybe different meds, even though she was on pretty much the highest dosage, and, you know, treat her. And she had a seizure even as I was carrying her in to the vet, and the vets took her immediately to the top of the emergency care line, which meant it was a critical condition. The vet pretty much told me, hey, I think her seizures were so bad this time that her lungs might have filled with liquid, and that's deadly, and her brain is probably going to be getting liquidated as well. She won't be the same, and she'll probably be blind. She's probably going to have these seizures, but more, pretty immediately, because there's nothing we can really do when they have 6 cluster seizures in a row. That's the worst kind of epilepsy, and it's almost untreatable. And that night, I just had no idea that was going to happen, and I thought everything I could do could help her with the meds, with the treatment. And the doctor was very real with me, and she told me, hey, you know, your dog is suffering, and she's not going to get better. And it was the hardest thing in my life, letting go of her. And I spent time with her in the little room after they brought her out of her seizure treatments, because they put her on a bunch of seizure treatments, and they told me that to save her that night it would have been around almost $4,000, and that even if we did that, there was not a good outlook, and that there would be more seizures, and then the next week would probably be another $4,000 vet trip, and it would just get higher and higher and higher, and that she wasn't going to live a quality life, and there was no way that pretty much anything could give her a quality life at that point of her epilepsy. And I had to say goodbye. I had to say goodbye to my best friend October 1st, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever had to do, is watch her die in my arms. But I always promised her that I would be with her from the very start to the very end, and that I would love her unconditionally, and I just wanted her to know she was so very loved by so many people. All of you guys, so many people that have never met her. She's brought smiles to so many of you guys, and that makes me so happy, and she made me so happy, and I know she's with Jesus right now. She's in the clouds and she's in a better place, and she's not in pain. She's not having these seizures. You know, she's probably eating carrots and with our other dog Clover and with her family, and probably in a better place. But in the end, guys, please give your pets a hug and tell them how loved they are, because pets, they have short lives and it's hard. I really wish dogs could live forever, because honestly, Trixie's, like I said, the best thing, the best gift I could have had, and will always be the best dog that I ever have in my entire life. No one will ever compare to her. She was everything, and I always talked about how much I loved her. All my friends, and I think everyone that knows me on a pretty personal level knows how much I loved my dog, how much she really did mean to me, how important she was, and it's gonna be really hard for me to heal from this. I wanted to share her story and give her the light that she did deserve, and have a video to kind of explain what she meant to me and how much she meant to me. She will forever be in my heart, and she will forever be a part of my channel. Have her paw here. I kind of planned for the worst when I had my psychic intuitions of her not being so well, and I painted with her. I framed it in this little frame, and I always have pieces of her with me everywhere, and she will always be a part of my life. I loved her so much. I love you so much, Trixie. I will be with you again someday. Thank you for the best 10 years of my life. You were the goodest girl that I could ever have. Rest in peace, my angel.
Hey, I love you. I love you so much. You're so cute.